Hey guys, how's it going? I finally got a chance to catch up on Severance, and I thought I'd go through the episode, touch on everything I thought was interesting or potentially significant, and make a few predictions along the way. Here we go. So we open in Harmony's bedroom, and I'm thinking, why does it look like she lives in a hospital? Her house is presumably just like Mark's, and his house doesn't look like that from what I've noticed. His basement kind of does though, so maybe she's got that set up in the basement. Then we see some creepy dolls on the bed, and I kind of wonder, do those represent somebody in real life? And if so, who? She gets a phone call with Dooley asking about Ragabi and if he has located her yet. She's obviously a former employee, and I'm wondering, did she have something to do with inventing the procedure? I noticed her coming from the hallway rather than coming down the stairs, and usually in a duplex layout like that, the bedrooms are upstairs, so I'm thinking she did come from the basement. Now we get to see the shrine she has set up, and she has the core principles listed on the wall, the same ones we talked about in the Lexington letter video. She's clearly a lifer. She attended the Myrtle Egan School for Girls. There's a diploma there in the shrine. And then she says a prayer and mentions those 9 principles we just talked about. The camera cuts specifically to probity, which, if you didn't see that video, it means having strong moral principles, honesty, and decency. Which is an interesting one for her to be looking at. There's a ticket to something called the Carnival, so seems like he's kind of like a real-life folk hero who got turned into some kind of deity by the people that worked for him. Then we see Adam. He's immediately going for the cell phone. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I wonder if the person calling is Ragabi. And just when I'm thinking he's about to call her, he tosses it. So that's that. We see the water tower. And I thought that was interesting because I'm wondering, is that the water tower for the facility, or is that kind of an indication in how deep the company's roots go in the community? Then we got Bert and Irving, which I'm wondering if that's like a Sesame Street reference or something. Once again, they're in a department they have no business being in. And I think it's an interesting scene because I think it's written to show how devoted Irving is to the company. It's more about him going against his philosophy and dedication to them rather than whether he's interested in pursuing a relationship with Bert, because it seems pretty apparent he is. Then we cut to the baby. That poor kid. He's going to have a rough life growing up with that guy as his dad. And then we see the lady from the cabin. She doesn't wave. I don't really blame her. If somebody was looking at my windows and came up asking for coffee, I don't know if I'd want to be friends with them either. But the guys are kind of sketchy otherwise. The dude's kind of robotic-like. Almost reminds me of somebody that works at Lumen. And apparently the baby's name changed. I'm wondering what the significance of that is. And here comes the weird platitudes of Mr. Rickon. He's a funny character for sure, but I think I have other favorites. It troubles me that they're stuck in the basement with that book as much as they are trapped in Lumen, to be honest. So now we're back in the office, and Irvin's telling everybody that they need to go visit O&D. And Dylan, who probably is the funniest, calls him on it. Say he just wants to go see Bert. And this kind of makes me think about in the guidebook and how they talk about how the world suffers and productivity suffers, because productivity's been suffering a lot lately. Helly's eager to get out there and map the floor. I'm happy to see she's got something to live for. And she's pretty funny too when she wants to be. Mr. Milchick walks in and nobody tells on him, so we got a little group cohesion going here now, so I think that's pretty cool. Mark goes and visits Miss Gobel, Harmony. And apparently Miss Casey's in the break room because of their little visit with the goats. And he's actually standing up to her for once and demanded to know, what do they do? And she immediately lays a smack down, calling them out for their lack of productivity and revokes their hallway privileges. Irving and Helly are going to be devastated, unfortunately. Heading back to MDR, Dylan's still cracking some great jokes. To think I wore this shirt for her, that was pretty good. And poor Irving's blaming himself. That's respectful. Mark's rebelling, and I don't think that's going to go well. How many break rooms do they have? They're all walking down the hallway now. So they go straight to O&D, and apparently all the devices are 3D printers. They're making hatchets and watering pails, though, which is really weird. I don't know why they need people in a basement to be making those, so I suspect that these objects aren't exactly what they seem to be. They keep pushing the rhetoric that everything's important and suggesting cooperation to figure out what's going on. If illumination for all corrected to beyond all, that there's something going on there. What do you guys think? While they're discussing their departmental cooperation, Dylan looks and finds these little laminated cards with hand-to-hand combat techniques on them. I wonder if that's how they train people like Mr. Dooley, perhaps. Mr. Milchick shows up to be a party pooper, per usual, and he's using some of that eye communication he talked about with Mark, except not smiling in his eyes. When they get back, Miss Gobel's waiting on them, and everybody looks terrified, and they probably should be. And she breaks out into a song. That was kind of unpredictable. Then, of course, she calls Mr. Dooley and takes Mark back to the break room. I think we all saw that coming. And she passes Miss Casey on the way, and she looks pretty defeated, and I feel bad for the girl. Then we cut to dinner with Alexa. There's not a whole lot notable going on there, other than I'm wondering if the business is also owned by Lumen, and maybe he's using a gift card from work. Now we're back at Devin and Rickon's house. She's being nosy about the lady from the birthing suite. And based on her research, the husband's a mayor turned senator. He helped legalize Severance. And her description suggests that she probably works closely with, if not for, Lumen. And we see an article about how Lumen is apparently his lead donor. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, but at least it's verified now. Then they talk about how she feels like her life is falling apart because they're having the kitchen remodeled. I don't know if they're trying to say that she has a silver spoon up her posterior, or maybe there's something deeper there. And then we discover Rickon and Devin have the pleasure of entertaining the only character stranger than Rickon himself, Harmony, when she's got her little out-of-work facade going on. I guess she's exercising that core principle of wiles. Apparently it was Mark's idea to have her watch him. If he only knew what he was leaving that baby with. She waste no time making things awkward for everybody. As weird as they are, maybe they didn't even notice, though, to be honest. And she seems to be pretty good with the baby, but I still find it pretty disturbing watching her hold it. Now we get a cut of a kid who seems to be playing hide and seek for about 2 hours. And I thought it was a flashback from Dylan, but then we see him get woke up by Milchick. And he tells him he's outside the facility at home, and he needs to know where that hand-to-hand combat card is. He refers to it as an ideographic card, which I think is an interesting choice of words. It basically means focusing on one person individually rather than trying to look at people as a group. And turns out he left it at work. Milchick was pretty pleasant until the kid burst in, and it revealed it was Dylan's son. And he got pretty harsh. That was maybe the most aggressive I've seen him be. And then we get the real Dylan back, whatever his actual name is, and he's just making sure everything's cool. Now we're back to Mark and Alexa, and rather than cutting the night short, they decide to go see a concert because he recognizes June on a poster, and she's apparently in some punk band. That was Petey's daughter, if you guys don't remember. And at the punk show, they're just singing about how much they hate Lumen. And Mark's singing along with them, and he should probably be careful yelling that. Then we have these interesting back-to-back opposite images where we have Mark and Alexa kissing, and then it cuts to Mr. Dooley. He's knocking on somebody's door. Turns out it's Harmony, and he reports he's got a lead on finding Ragabi. A campus cop told him something, and he asks why she's dressed like that, and she says, "I'm doing personal research," and that's an interesting choice of words. He mentions that maintenance doing a little installing tonight, and he thinks it was a good call. I'm looking forward to finding out what that is. Turns out Mark brought Alexa home, and he woke up with nightmares about PD, so he goes out and retrieves the cell phone. And he finally makes a call we all been waiting for, and the woman answers. I'm thinking Ragabi, and she wants to meet now. Then we get a cut back to Lumen where we see what maintenance is up to. They're installing doors on what looks like MDR. Going to lock them in there so they can't go any more adventures, I guess. Meanwhile, Mark's finally meeting the stranger on the phone who beckons him to come with her. And he starts considering it, and we get a cut to black. So I thought it was a pretty good episode. I know this is kind of a long video, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up. But I think we'll get a big information dump on next week's episode. I look forward to hearing you guys' ideas in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching.